So we're now going to speed limit changes, I believe. Yes. Okay, there we go. And who is presenting from Public Works?
Here, am I on? Hello?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay. My name is Steve Gallup. I am the Transportation Division County Traffic Engineer for Public Works. And with me, I have members from our traffic engineering team. I have Dylan Jennings here. And
Hi, Dylan Jennings. I'm one of the traffic engineers in our transportation team, and I'll be presenting today.
then also, I think we have Michelle Julin that may be online with us to help answer questions. And today, so we'll be presenting just a presentation for your information on establishing some speed limits on a few of our roads. And then we will be coming to you next week to approval of or adoption of an ordinance to approve these speed changes. And then after the public hearing. So with that, we'll go ahead and have Dylan do his presentation and we can answer questions afterwards.
Thanks, Steve. So I wanted to first kind of give some background on what our team does, the traffic team here at Clark County. Public Works frequently gets customer service requests related to speeding concerns, as I'm sure all of you are aware. And we have several ways to address these concerns. We can perform speed studies to see how fast people are actually driving on roads. If we do find that there is a speeding issue, we can put up radar speed feedback signs. And we also coordinate with the Sheriff's Office for targeted enforcement. Sometimes the concerns that residents have do warrant evaluating the speed limits. So this presentation goes over the last few years of evaluations of speed limits and some speed limit changes that we are proposing as a result of these customer service requests. Next slide, please. So as far as the regulations that get us to where we are today, I have a couple of RCWs here under WAC. So RCW 4661-400 is the basic rule RCW, which sets a default speed limit of 50 miles an hour on any county road unless otherwise changed. RCW 4661-415 allows Clark County Council to implement speed limit changes. And then WAC 468-95-045 requires that whenever a speed limit is different from the default speed limit, it is required to be posted. Next slide, please. So these are some typical speed limits for different classifications of roads. This is kind of a starting point that we can determine what a speed limit should be just purely based on the classification. And this is assuming that a road is built to its full cross section. A lot of county roads are not built to the full cross section. So for a parkway, for example, Patton Parkway, speed limit might be 50. For a principal arterial, for example, Northeast 78th Street, speed limit might be 45 or 50. Minor arterial, such as 72nd Avenue or Hazeldale Avenue, might be 35 or 40 mile an hour. A collector, such as 124th Avenue and 130th Avenue, typical speeds are 30 or 35. A neighborhood circulator street is kind of in between collectors and local access. They serve more traffic than a local access road, but they are lower speeds than a collector. So 25 to 30 is typical there. And then for a local access residential street, the speed limit is typically 25. And then Clark County Resolution 7218 set the speed limit for all urban residential subdivision streets at 25 miles an hour. Next slide, please. So when we're evaluating speed limits, there's three basic elements that we use in our engineering analysis and traffic investigation to establish the recommended speed limit. So the first thing is the characteristics of the highway. That includes geometric and physical conditions of the roadway. Lane width is one of the more critical things, but also horizontal and vertical curves. And then sight distance, especially sight distance at public road intersections. For traffic, we were looking at traffic patterns and operations, which includes operating speed, and we collect that with a speed study. It also includes vehicle mix, so how many semi-trucks, for example, are using a road. And then we also take a look at crash history to see if there's a crash problem. And then for roadside culture, so here we're looking at the classification of the road as set in the arterial atlas, the access density, so how many driveways and other roads intersect this road, the pedestrian environment, are there sidewalks, are there not sidewalks, and then we're looking in the urban and rural area. It's just a different feeling as you're driving, so that's part of determining speed limit. And then also residential area versus a commercial area can have a difference on how the road feels, and then therefore what we recommend speed limit to be set. Next slide. So the last time that we were here in front of council proposing speed limit changes was 2021. And so since 2021, we've had 28 different roads that we've heard from the public they wanted us to take a look at to evaluate speed limit changes. We looked through all 28 roads, performed an engineering study, and we determined that 4 of these roads did warrant speed limit changes, and 24 were determined to have appropriate speed limits. So this table here is those 4 roads. We'll go through them in the next few slides. So next slide, please. So here's all 4 of those roads that we are proposing speed limit changes and where they are in the county. The first 2 are 67th Avenue near Battleground. The third one is over in Salmon Creek area. And then the 4th one is over at the county line near Camas, Washougal area. Next slide, please. So first road here that we're proposing speed limit change, this is Northeast 67th Avenue from SR 502 up to the north end at 230th Way. This is a rural minor collector and rural local access. It changes classification. There is some recent development in the area. A new subdivision went in here recently. The road here is fairly wide for considering the rural context. It is 24 feet wide. The 85th percentile speed, which is what 85% of drivers travel at or below. So the 85th percentile is 34. And typically, from a traffic perspective, we would expect drivers to travel a little above the speed limit at the 85th percentile speed. So 34 miles an hour, we do expect to be a little above the speed limit that we set. So the existing speed limit on this road is unposted basic rule, but it was previously posted with a sign at 30 miles an hour. And given all of the data that we collected and evaluated here, we do recommend setting the speed limit on 67th at 30 miles an hour. We consider this a housekeeping item, considering that it was previously posted at 30 miles an hour, even though it did not have an ordinance.
Excuse me, I have a quick question here.
Sure.
So will this then be posted going
It-
forward?
Correct. It will be posted. All of these that we're recommending changes will be posted.
Thanks.
Next slide, please. So this is also 67th Avenue, but on the south side of SR 502. There is a median along SR 502, so even though this is the same road, they are kind of separated, so they have different contexts. So this is more residential. It's rural. It's still a rural minor collector, rural local access road. This road is narrower. It is 19 feet wide, which is fairly narrow for a road, even in the rural context. The 85th percentile speed here is 31, and the existing speed limit is basic rural. Because this is not within a urban subdivision, the ordinance that set, or the resolution that set the speed limit to 25 for all urban residential subdivisions does not apply. So we are recommending posting this and setting the speed limit on this road at 25 miles an hour. It is currently posted at 25. So this is another one that we would consider a housekeeping item. Next slide, please. Okay, so this one here is in the Salmon Creek area. This is Northeast 154th Street from 10th Avenue, which was recently extended in the last few years to the end at Northwest 157th Street. This is a urban local access road. However, it does not have any subdivisions along it. It has not had any development since it has become part of the urban growth boundary. So the 25 mile an hour resolution does not apply. This is a very narrow road. It's only 18 feet wide. The 85th percentile speed here is 25 miles an hour. So people are driving slow on this narrow road. It does have several curves throughout the road. There's not really any long straight segments that people would be going fast on. The existing speed limit is 35 miles an hour on this road. But given the that it is in the urban growth boundary, given that it is very narrow, and given that the existing 85th percentile speeds are 25, we do recommend changing the speed limit here from 35 down to 25 to better match what drivers are actually doing. Next slide, please. So then last one here, out in Camas Washougal area. This is Southeast 412th Avenue from Washougal River Road to the county line. This road is right up against the boundary between Clark County and Skamania County, and it does this road does go into Skamania County. This is a rural local access road. It's 21 feet wide. It does have a centerline stripe, so drivers are more comfortable driving at a higher speed. It's also fairly straight. The 85th percentile speed here is 43 miles an hour. The existing speed limit within Skamania County is 35 miles an hour. And then on the Clark County side, at the intersection with Washougal River Road, this road is currently posted at 35 miles an hour, but there is no ordinance to support that. So we are recommending a 35 mile an hour speed limit as a housekeeping item. And I believe that's all we have. Yes.
Questions by council?
Yes, I have a question or two. First,
Karen?
I'd like to say that I appreciate how you go about your speed studies. having seen that from the eyes of constituents, I appreciate the depth of work that you do with that. So thank you. I do have a question or two on the radar feedback signs that you can put up. I understand that there is a list that is created in that all that are requested at this time cannot go up. And so I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about that. And also, when there is a feedback sign, what effect does that have on driving?
I can answer those questions, Counselor. The speed feedback signs, we have about 4 or 5 of those speed feedback signs. We just got 2 new ones that are actually on trailers now, so we can actually move them a little easier around the county and stuff to get those up. Speed feedback signs are basically right now our number one tool that we have as far as traffic calming that we use. We find them very effective if we can move them around the county. When we first put them up on the road, they're very effective on influence people's behaviors. For the first week or so, then they kind of catch on, and then they're not as effective as they first are when we put them up, and then we kind of move them around to other places and things. So that's kind of how we use our speed feedback signs and things.
Is there ever follow-up with the individuals that you see are speeding through the area? And by follow-up, I mean with our sheriff or someone talking to them about speed limits. And also I'm interested in, since you've just purchased a couple, roughly what is the cost on those?
The ones that we just purchased were about $10,000 each. So, and then we also do coordinate with the sheriff's office. We meet with a representative from the sheriff's office every other month and review roads that we received complaints on about speeding and things. So we try to coordinate with them the best we can. And then they will, often have a deputy. If there's a deputy in the area, or they may send out a deputy to kind of monitor the road for a little bit and kind of see what's going on.
Well, just an opinion here. I think that's $10,000 well spent.
Thank you.
Chair, I think your audio's off. Go ahead, Counselor Young.
Thank you. So a couple questions. So we had like 40 requests and 4 of them are approved, but they're mostly housekeeping. So that means that we've got a lot of requests and that we are not recommending a change in speed. And I know that there are for sure situations, I've witnessed it before where, people think that nobody should be driving on the road, and anybody that drives down, they get angry and upset about. And so there are some complaints that come in that really aren't valid. But I've also, just in my personal experience with looking at speeds, it seems like there's a very high reluctance to lowering the speed limit, and I understand that where you're in busier areas where there's a lot of traffic that has to get through, but in residential areas, what is the apprehension to reduce speed limits in those areas?
The residential areas usually, those typically are, about 25 miles per hour, especially in the urban areas and things. Like the presentation, like Dylan was talking about, we try to look at operating speeds that the people are, drivers that are driving that road, and we usually look at, okay, what are, most drivers seem like they drive at a reasonable speed, at a safe speed for that road. So we're looking at, what are most of those drivers doing? And then that's kind of the speed that we look at. We look at sight distance and crash history and other things to help influence or determine what the speed limit should be. And in a lot of cases, like we do get complaints of people speeding and things, but in a lot of cases, majority of the people are going at a safe, reasonable speed for that road. Yeah, we do have the few outliers that are speeding and things, but and so we'll set the speed of the road based on kind of what the majority of the people are driving that road at a safe, reasonable speed. And if we've often found that if we set it too low or too artificially low, then that can actually cause more crashes. People get frustrated. You start introducing passing, especially if there's a lot of driveways and things, you don't want a lot of passing or happening in intersections and things. So it's, you want to try to get the speed limit at where it's going to be safe for, most of the people, well, all the people, of course, and all the drivers and things. And so, and often, like I was saying, often the speed limit is pretty, what it's set at is pretty much the safe speed at this time. And, a lot of times it's not, the data shows that we shouldn't be reducing the speed. So.
Good. I appreciate that. Traffic engineering is an art, and I know that there are times that things that are engineered and the public just kind of looks at it and scoffs because they just don't believe it, and then you put it into reality and it comes out the way that it was engineered. But I am curious, do we have any 20-mile posted speed limits?
We don't have any in the county. We don't have any 20-mile-per-hour speed limits. That's only within city limits. They do that. We're not allowed to do that. Like Dylan was saying, the resolution or law at this time is 25 for
And
outside
is
city
that
limits.
county controlled, or is that at the state level?
That's at the state level.
Okay, because I, personally, I think there are times, all roads are different. The environment is different from road to road, but when you have, fairly high density, especially apartments, you have lots of kids, and where our parking requirements are not enough for those cars, so they end up spilled all over the street. And those parked cars on those roads really change the environment of a road. And especially in apartment areas where there's lots of little kids, you can't see them over the top of a car when they're on the sidewalk. They run across the road, you can't see them until they're right in front of your car. So I think it would be worthwhile looking at potentially changing that ordinance, and not just, flat out changing all 25 miles an hour to 20, but looking at special circumstances like that. I just think that, a life is not worth getting from here to there quickly. And I do understand completely your mentioning of people getting frustrated and behaving badly. That is very true. So there's a balance to be found there, but I would definitely support looking into lowering to 20, the minimum, the floor, and just very occasionally placing it if it's appropriate.
I
I
do
think I
have
had
a
one other
follow-up.
question, but I'll go ahead and leave it at that.
I do have a follow-up comment to that.
Sure.
You did mention children, kids, and lowering speed limit to 20. For school zones specifically, that is what the county reserves the speed limit of 20 for. So we are allowed to reduce the speed limit down to 20, and the county has, in the past, chosen to reserve that specifically to school zones. So all of our school zones do have speed limits of 20.
Okay. Oh, that reminds me. I just remembered. So, and again, not for this work session, but number of months, probably over a year ago, we had been presented with the potential for a neighborhood traffic program. I would love to hear that discussion again in the coming months, hear more about it.
Yes, I was going to put a plug in for that. We are planning on coming back to you guys at the beginning of the first of the year with the kind of our neighborhood traffic management program proposal. I know we presented to you guys, probably over a year ago now. And you guys had some comments at that time. So we were addressing those comments and presenting that plan to you again at the first of the year.
Great. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Yep.
Chair, I have a comment. Your audio is still not working, but I'll go ahead. Are you still putting in speed bumps in different areas? I don't see a lot of speed bumps, or is that just not a practice that we're doing as a county?
We typically don't install speed bumps on our roads now. We, like I said, a lot of our roads are higher speeds. A lot of times you see those more in residential areas with lower speed limits, 25 miles per hour, and a lot of times within city limits at 20 miles per hour, you'll see those speed bumps. But in our neighborhood traffic management program, that is going to be one of our tools that we're going to start looking at and possibly using those more often. So that's going to be one of our tools that we have hopefully available to us if you guys approve our program.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Chair, I just have I guess a comment. I appreciate understanding the complexity of this and the process that you go through. And there's multiple factors. Speed sign is one thing that people will obey or not. And that I'm glad they're bringing the neighborhood traffic control, because I'm curious about all the various options that could come into play. And I think the neighborhood folks themselves would like to be participants in trying to figure that out. And I know, and I appreciate meeting with one of my constituents who lives in the Meadowglade area, and there's been a lot of development at one end, and their neighborhood is just the pass-through for that, and I've seen a lot of increased traffic. And I think there's going to be more of those challenges in the future as we're developing more densely, and on the edge there'll be that intersection between the higher density and more rural neighborhoods. So I guess keep up the good work.
Great. I don't think the chair's audio's coming back. So if there's no more questions, then that concludes the work sessions for today. All right. Thank you for the great presentation. We appreciate it.